Thank you for watching this video. 10 minutes can be a long time. It can be eternity for some of us, and it can be just a split second of infinity time for others. The subject that I wish to just briefly cover is, are you free to love? Are you really free in your mind, in your heart, in your being to love? And the love I'm referring to is not of a sexual love. It is a spiritual love. It is a love that's all-encompassing, all-embracing. It's a love that touches the very fibers of your soul. It's a love that has no beginning or end. And you might think this is strange coming from me. And you're probably wondering, well, why are you in fancy dress? Well, let me share with you. On the 6th of June 1966, I accepted a personal invitation to embrace love. And that was to become a nursing monk in a Catholic nursing order. And over a period of 8 years, I found that my heart was becoming closed to love. Because I was living in fear. Fear that I wasn't good enough for God. And at that time, the training of monks and nuns was so negative. It focused mainly on the spiritual, but not accommodating the individual as a person. We were a number, not an individual with gifts. It was really like being a spiritual slave. But over a number of many years, I guess I had to fall over lots of suitcases and reawaken that spirit, that hunger, and feed it. But eventually, after 45 years of searching, I finally came home. And I discovered after therapy, 12 years of therapy to get over living the life of a monk. And now I'm free. And interestingly, in 2007, when I was laid low with a virus in my spine, that was God's gift to my heart. What? Why would God inflict a virus that would paralyze you? He didn't, but he used it as an opportunity for me to come back to my heart. Because I knew in my being that I belonged to God. I knew that no one else was to share that love. And even though I left the monastery and was released from my vows in the spring of 1974, and though I tried to live life in the fast lane as ordinary men and women do in society, there was always a hankering, there was always a longing. There was something missing. And then I discovered in 2007, as I battled with my mind telling me, don't be silly, my heart was saying surrender. And I finally surrendered on the eve of the 8th of December, the feast of the Immaculate Conception, when in 1968 I took my vows as a Catholic nursing monk. And the time in between 1968 and 2007, I was like the prodigal son's brother, envious, low self-esteem, low self-worth, full of pomposity. I was a pain in the rear, really. But then I was guided to come back to my heart. And in my quiet time, I sensed Jesus, the barefoot Galilean, say, I never left you. I never abandoned you. You abandoned me. That had a profound impact on my heart. And then he said, I never released you from your vows. The church did, but I never did. So you're still in vows in my eyes. So surrender your heart now and let's do it officially. With my Father, Mother, God present, with Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Magdalena, with Francis and all the saints. And I invite you to become a lay monastic from your own home. And then I realized I made myself ill, thinking that God wanted me to return to an enclosed Catholic monastery and relive the horrors of the 60s. And that made me so uncomfortable. But then I realized the path that God had chosen for me was a far better path. And it was a path of simplicity, of embracing God through the natural world, just like Francis in the 12th century. It wasn't Francis's vision to have monasteries and to set up a church. No, Francis wanted to live in the caves, and his followers lived off the earth. But of course, down through the centuries, man intercepted and inflicted a lot of his own rules and regulations, as the church has. Jesus has never condemned anybody. Jesus has never said to a homosexual, a lesbian, a prostitute, a drug addict or drug user, there's no room for you in heaven. Jesus has never abandoned anybody, because he came, in my opinion, that we may have life and have it to the full, regardless of whether a divorcee, regardless of whether we're a prisoner, a convict, regardless if we're a deceiver. He came to save us, and he came to offer us an olive branch and give us a second chance. But sadly, a lot of the religions that have been formed by man to make a connection of man's mind to God, they have forgotten one very important part of their worship, their heart. So many religions today focus on keeping up appearances, making sure the ritual is performed as the textbook says. And it alienates people from that love of God. Take, for example, sexuality. And I'm not wishing to make this a priority, but so many people have been alienated from God by their church. Recently I was given a situation, a real situation, where in a school, in a secondary school in the Outer Hebrides, a minister from the Church of Scotland, and by the way, they have endorsed gay men and women becoming priests, but this youngish man in his late 40s, early 50s, told the 18-year-olds that gay men and women are evil, and there's no place for them in God's church. That is man alienating a soul from God. And the purpose of this short talk is to say to you, whoever you are you free to love regardless of your baggage? Our baggage stops us loving. But if you can come before a loving God into your heart space, and therein allow the divine speak to you, you will find no condemnation. You will find no rejection. You will find only the hand of friendship. Like the prodigal son, the father killed the fatted calf and ran to meet his wayward son, who squandered all his inheritance. And that's you and me. But then, of course, his brother, who had lived an exemplary life, who reminded me of me, was envious. And that's what's happening today with religion. Many religious groups castigate those who dare to be different. And as an independent a Catholic Christian Franciscan monk living the contemplative life, I do embrace all faiths. But I've had to pay the price for that from my own religious family, where I've been castigated by them, alienated by them, and by the New Age movement, because I dare to be different, because I dare to embrace my beloved, Jesus, the barefoot Galilean. So open your heart and receive love. Open your heart and embrace true love. And it's a love that's selfless. It's a love that's unconditional. And it's there for you today. Namaste.